Welcome to NASPA Tonight.
NASPA Tonight. This is all of your Scrabble news in 25 minutes or less.
I'm Josh Greenway.
I am Jackson Smylie.
Let's talk about Scrabble.
The time starts in a couple seconds. The time is about to start. We're actually going to stick to 25 minutes this week.
That's right. Should I hit the clock? What are we doing?
No, the clock is going to start.
So you might have noticed. Here we go.
Right,
there we go. Beautiful. So we have as always.
It's a bit of a different episode this week.
That's right. We have a packed show. That hasn't changed. But Jackson and I are in different locations. Jackson, you've run off to Montreal. What are you doing there?
I have. My university is on a 1-week break, so I figured it was a prime opportunity to leave the city and go play Scrabble.
I see. So you are visiting your BFF, Josh Jr., is that right?
That is exactly correct.
Well, I think
he's nowhere to be found.
I see. Well, I think we're going to be joined by special guests, Josh Jr., Benjie, and Cesar tonight. So everybody can go ahead.
Our topic of the night is Scrabble Rivalries, and it's a very fitting topic since I'm in Montreal playing my biggest rival in Scrabble. So we thought, why not get some rivalry action going on the show, keeping it real with what's going on in reality. We try to make a close connection between those two things.
Now, before we do that, we're going to launch right into tournament talk, one of our popular features here. So what we're going to do, there are people who say that they love that part the most. Let's go right into the results from last week. As you can see here, we've got we predicted 6 tournaments, and you came out on top 2-1. Is there anything?
I did. It's a rare thing that happens nowadays. Actually,
you came out 3-1. I marked you as wrong for David Gibson for some reason. We'll have to fix up the records for that. And for some reason, I was watching last week's show because we don't write down any of our predictions. But as you can see, there's an NA for me for Asheville. I never made a pick. You picked David Gibson, and I figured, I don't need to make a pick.
I don't realize that. I mean, he did win, as he does very often. I was very happy with the Winter pick. Winter's been on fire as of late. I think after playing about 650 tournaments, he was like, I think I figured out how to play Scrabble. The first 600 were just practice runs.
He won 2 tournaments in a row. He won the Caledon Day CSW and then the Caledon Night CSW. We've got Ari listed as the winner there, so it is only 2-1 for you. There are a lot of problems with this graphic. Just to give people a little behind-the-scenes view of what happens here at NASPA Tonight, normally we get together and we prep for the show and put all this stuff together, but you ran off, so I'm going to blame that.
It shows that I'm the glue that holds this team together. That's what I've been trying to tell Josh this whole time, but he hasn't been listening. So let's go on and do some predictions for this week.
Sure. So
let's do.
Yeah, let's start with the biggest tournament of the week. We're going to start with Oshawa coming up. We're both going to be attending Oshawa. This is a tournament that I think is approaching 60 players.
I think 59 last I checked.
Yeah, 59. So maybe it'll hit 60 by the time the weekend comes.
So this is the TWL group.
This is the TWL group. We're just going to predict TWL tonight. But why don't we go ahead? I think it's probably your first pick. You made up a little bit of ground this week, but I think I still hold the lead now. Yeah. So who do you like here in Oshawa?
I'm going to go all in on my own happiness, and I'm going to pick myself to win.
Are you really?
It's double or nothing.
Are you really rated 2060?
I don't know. I mean, I keep telling Seth to change it because it must be an error.
All right. Well, as I normally say, any kind of tournament where there's any kind of money, you tend to come in second or third. So but it's Oshawa, so you're probably going to win your $250. So I'm going to go, but who knows? If there's anybody here who can take you down, I'm going to say that it's Chris Sykes. So we'll make that pick.
He just hit 1900 for the first time, which is pretty amazing because he had been like almost there so many times in the previous years. So I'm proud of him.
Yeah, congratulations to Sykes. He's definitely a strong player, no question. Let's move out west to deep in the heart of Texas. We've got the State of Texas Championship. I am going to make the first pick here, and I am contractually obligated to pick Chris Cree. That's who my winner is going to be. I know who you're picking, but I'm not going to try to block you on this one.
I know. I mean, it's written into NASPA Tonight that at least someone has to pick either Chris or John every week. So keep me real. I thought you were going to pick Ori, and I was planning to pick my bro Matt Cannon.
Oh, but, now you got a tough choice to make.
This wild swing that I was not expecting. I'm going to have to change my first inclination and go with Ori Swift.
Yeah, you always take Ori if Ori is.
I love Ori. He always wins.
Okay, let's move on to Chesapeake Bay, Maryland. That is coming up this weekend. You get the first pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with Rick Julian.
Right, I'll go in chalk. I've interviewed Rick Julian before at Nationals, I think in New Orleans, after he had a particularly big game. So I think that's a strong pick. I am going to roll here with Edwin Roth. I know I've picked Edwin a number of times. I don't know if it's ever worked out for me. But let's go Edwin. And then we're going to finish up here. You were asking for Oshawa Collins. We're not doing that, but we're going to go with Playa del Carmen. This is the tournament that's happening in Mexico. I mean, what could be better than going to Mexico and playing? What's interesting about this tournament is there's like all these different Scrabble tournaments happening there. There's like the Spanish and like different, I don't know if the French is being played there.
I think it's just a Spanish World Championship going on.
But aren't there multiple events? Anyway, whatever is going on down there, this is the group that we're all picking from. That's right. It would be fun to go to Mexico, no question. I'm going to start.
And are you going to start? Oh, yeah, I guess you will.
Am I? Hold on.
Yeah, you're starting.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go Tony Leah. I mean, he's a hell of a player.
Solid. I'm going to go with David Whitley. David, I feel like he can just like turn on the jets whenever he pleases. So I feel like he could just win any tournament he wants.
Okay. I thought you were going to go John Chu there, but we can.
No, we already got our one NASPA co-president out of the way. Like, no obligation now.
Okay, so let's set up now for headlines, and there's a headline that I would like to cover here. Let me just get set up for this. If why don't you bring? Let's see if you can bring Josh Jr. in.
Our fellow guest who has been operating the clock this whole time. Welcome, Josh. He's been sitting beside me the whole time. How's it going, Josh?
Surprise. And we're going to go.
I'm not going to speak for you.
Right.
And
here's the headline. Here's the headline that I want to cover here, Jackson. Just quiet down for a second. This was my favorite thing on Facebook this week. I don't know if you guys can see that picture here. This is going to be better. First of all, welcome to the show, Josh Jr. and Cesar. Cesar, can you explain what's going on in this picture?
Josh greeted me last year in Montreal with a sign that said Cesar Jaramillo, Venezuelan Scrabble champion. So I thought I would run down to Penn Station, and I actually got there just in the nick of time, and I caught him.
You were late.
Well, like 2 minutes late, and I had a piece of cardboard, and
Nice try though. It was a great effort.
It looks like you found the piece of cardboard in the trash, number one.
Trash.
Number two, I didn't know what the joke was about when I saw this on Facebook. I knew that to some degree I was being made fun of, but I loved it. Like I said, it was my favorite thing on Facebook this week. So that was a lot of fun.
I actually had no idea there was this precedent with Cesar Jaramillo. Hilarious.
Yeah. I greeted him at Gare Centrale when he came to visit me, and so he decided to greet me when I came to visit him. And you can't really see it. It says Josh Greenway, French, in very small letters. Canadian Scrabble champion.
Yeah, French-Canadian Scrabble champion.
Oui. Okay, so let's now what we should do is let's move on to our spotlight feature, which is going to deal all about rivalries. And I think it would be a smart place to start with the recent series that we had that we heard about on Facebook. That was between our next guest, Benjie and Cesar. Let's welcome these guys to the show. So who wants to start? You guys decided to play a series. I believe it was a best of 11. Somebody give me the story. Who came up with that idea? Who traveled to who? Where did you play and what happened?
Well,
I can start the story.
All right, go ahead, Benjie.
So after Nationals, we went to get some food. It was a nice little place in the basement of a restaurant. And I forget who, but I think like Jackson proposed to like Jesse that they could play a best of 20 games for $1,000.
No, he proposed it to me.
I proposed it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a little drunk, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" Like, I mean, well. Go ahead,
so then me, hot off my sweet finish at Nationals, decided, okay, $1,000 seems like a lot of money, but we could play for 150. It'll be enough to keep us motivated, and we'll do a best of 21 since that's an odd number, and we don't want to keep trying to spread.
Okay, so that's an interesting setup. It really was for $150.
Yeah, I have the PayPal sheet to prove it.
All right, and what happened, Cesar? Can you give us the story of what happened?
All right.
I think I just gave the story.
Well, you gave the story about how it started.
The backstory. Yeah, and it wasn't in a basement of a restaurant. It was just in a basement restaurant.
So no, it was a really good restaurant. So so Benjie and I went to this like awesome restaurant called Vietnam to start our series in New York, and the game was pretty close. It's pretty neck and neck, and then like with one turn to go, I have the word salt work into a K to basically give me like a 99% chance to win the game. But I wasn't sure of it. So I chickened out. I played something else, and he ended up beating me. And then that was the game that decided the whole series. After that, I was done. I knew I was going to lose like the next 30 in a row. And usually when that happens, I just go on a losing streak. So
you went on Tilt, right? I don't know if we've talked about Tilt before on this show. Maybe you can give a description, since I feel like you might be familiar with the concept.
You're an expert at Tilt.
Yeah, so I'm a tilt yard, as Jackson would assess. So
because you tilt a lot doesn't mean you're an expert on tilt.
No, that's true. No, so I'm actually not an expert on tilt, but I'm becoming one thanks to some very nice articles that Benjie sent me on Magic the Gathering, actually. So basically, the sports psychology of the game. There's a lot of similarities. So I'm basically becoming an expert on it and learning to not go on tilt again in the future, I hope.
Okay, and going on Tilt would be, give us your definition of going on Tilt.
Well, thinking that because you blew one turn in one game and then ended up losing the game, that you're just destined to keep losing, and that basically happens to me at every tournament. I just like make a mistake and then I say, okay, I just blew it, and then I lose 4 in a row. So that's basically going on Tilt.
Yeah, you start overthinking without realizing you're overthinking. I know I'm talking from like a blind spot, but Benjie isn't saying anything, and Benjie's the real expert.
Benjie, do you have experience with Tilt?
Oh, of course I do. I tilt all the time. So that is a form of tilt. I think tilt is just varies from person to person. I think everyone except maybe Nigel, Kenji's claims he does tilt, but Someone said that there should be a children's book called Everybody Tilts.
Okay. Thank you thanks for the story, guys. We're going to bring you back in a second, but I want to move on to another pair of rivals here. So let's bring in Josh and Jackson. These two are you guys are BFFs, right?
Yeah, that's
we're
the myth.
mortal enemies.
So I also want to point out, I feel like they didn't say what the score was in their series. It ended with I don't know why Ben omitted this important detail, but Benjie ended up with 11 wins, and Cesar. I mean, that's what you do. You end up with 11 wins if you win the series, but Cesar ended up with 0 wins.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Let's all do a sad clap for Cesar for a very valiant effort.
Cesar, any response, Cesar?
Well, we played like 4 or 5 more games after that, and I won one of them. And I was so happy when I won that game. Like I broke my hex, right? I mean,
so tell us the status you posted, Cesar. The status you posted about the tennis player.
Yeah, so this tennis player, I can like read it out loud. This tennis player named what's this player's name? Come on, don't fade. Okay.
Because he had lost 15 in a row.
Yeah, basically. So Vitas Gerulaitis lost 16 times in a row to Jimmy Connors, and on the 17th game he won. And after winning, he said this, and let that be a lesson to you all. Nobody beats Vitas Gerulaitis 17 times in a row. So that's basically what I told Benjie. I think there was about
no one beat Cesar 12 times in a row.
Or 14 times in a row. Yeah. I think it was like 2 more or something.
Beautiful. Thanks for the extra color. And now that we've revealed the results, Benjie, any thoughts about how that came together? I mean, obviously he went on tilt or whatever, but do you have any additional thoughts there?
Well, one thing that I did, which I recommend, is I drew astoundingly well.
Okay.
There were actually a lot of pretty close games. And it just felt like a lot of the games I just won more and more ridiculous ways. Like I would be down 90 on a closed board, and I'd make a 6-tile play and then draw into a 90-point Z play.
So, I mean, it's also worth noting that, like, if you're playing someone who you're completely evenly matched against, you're supposed to win 11 in a row about just under 1 in 1,000 times. So, like, it's really, really improbable, but it is possible. It's
so like all they have to do is play 1,000 more series, and it'll all even itself out, right?
Okay, let's turn the attention to you two guys. You guys have done a number of these series. How many series have you guys played? 4?
And who's 4 leading? Series. We got 2-2.
Oh.
So I won the first one. He won the second one. I won the third one, and he won the fourth one.
So are you playing a series this week?
No, I mean we are, but like
we played unofficial ones. But this one is unofficial.
Like whenever we visit each other in other cities, we'll always like play a bunch of games. But it's not like a series. A series we're doing.
Like plan.
Yeah, when we plan a series now, we always go to a different city and we like use the series to explore the city while playing the series. So we've done. So the first one was Toronto, the second one was Montreal, the third one was New York City, and the fourth one was Boston. So now we have to do a 5th city that's different. We're not sure what to do yet. If you guys have any suggestions, please tell us in the comments what the city should be that we do our 5th.
It doesn't have to be in North America.
It doesn't have to be in North America.
It will most likely be in North America.
Most likely.
Right. So yeah, we'll take suggestions for those. And I also want to point out that people can talk about their own rivalries. If you want to throw that into the comments, Jason Brosma says Bangkok, which I think would be an excellent suggestion.
Maybe that was also never mind.
So
now
it's also worth noting with our series, which is why I think everyone should do series is that without exception, they always start off like ridiculously in one person's favor, usually Josh's favor, and then I'll go on some crazy winning streak and come back to like tie it up with like 1 game to go. So like there's definitely this element of psychology that you don't get in a regular tournament, or at least not to the same extent, because you're playing the same person over and over, and you just like have to force yourself to not get in these like mental ruts.
Basically, what Jackson was trying to say is Benjie and Cesar should have done a best of 2000 series instead of best of 21, and it would have been fine, I think. Anyways, everybody that has rivalries, congrats, but you need to get on our level.
Yeah, you gotta do series.
A friendly rivalry.
Right. I mean, and Jackson, you generally talk about series as being one of the ways that you can play that makes it more exciting, right? Or there's something that you like about series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really exciting because it's just a unique experience because you get this whole continuum of game after game. There's like these overarching psychological elements when you play like 8 games or 10 games in a row that you don't really get if you're playing different people every single round, like we do in regular tournaments, which is not to say that it's necessarily better. I'm not like advocating it for like all tournaments, but it's super cool because when you play 5 games in a row, like you just notice these trends that happen. And I think that's kind of responsible for these like crazy streaks we always go on. Like you just get into these like zones where you believe certain things are going to happen and they do. So it's cool. It's a very fun experience.
It brings out it brings out the psychological aspect of the game that's always been there, but you don't necessarily notice it when you play in tournaments and you're playing different people when you go on streaks. But it's just so blatantly obvious. And series is. I said series. I vowed not to say series. Anyway.
Okay, now when we were getting ready for the episode, we always put up a little ad to let people know when the show is. I know, Jackson, you didn't know when the show was this week, but we're going to go ahead and read some of those. I'm going to ask Benjie to help me out here. This is from my buddy Andre. He points out that his biggest rival is me. Now, Benjie, do you think 12, 13, 1,400 players can have rivals? Is that a thing?
Of course. I do think that the best way to do rivalries is you want them to be pretty similarly skill level. You don't want to be 1,000 and just be like, oh, look, Nigel Richards is my biggest rival. I'm going to, unless their name is Ray Tate, maybe. But the whole point of a rivalry is for you two to get better. I don't see the point of it if you're not talking about your games, if you're not trying to improve. You guys should have a good rival has similar goals to you in the game. They'll have a similar level of commitment, and it's really just there to help everyone get better.
Right, absolutely. So the interesting thing is Andre and I have a 22-22 record. We've played a lot of close games. But he's gotten a hell of a lot better than me. But we have different habits. So let's now move on to the next person who mentioned their rivalry. I'm going to bring Cesar on for his reaction to this. Michael Fagan says that his biggest rival is Josh Jr. Any reaction to that? How about this? Can a rivalry be one-sided?
No, probably not. I think both have to agree.
Okay,
but
well,
I know Michael really has a strong rivalry with Josh in his head, so I don't know why.
Okay, let's move on to the next rivalry. We've got Ari Sinke talking about his rivalry with Christopher Sykes. They seem to play each other every 2 weeks, and game outcomes are very close to 50%, with an average score of over 400 on both sides. Obviously, both of those are strong players, and it was interesting. Sykes came back and said, wow, that's really nice of you to say. I consider you the much stronger player. Jackson, any thoughts on what these guys had to say?
You were asking right before if it's possible for lower-rated players to have rivalries, and the answer, I think, is obviously yes. But my real question now is, can you have a rivalry with someone when you never play on Sundays? That's my bigger concern here. Because they only play one day. Ari only plays one day, so who knows what would happen if they played a multi-day together.
You're basically saying Ari's not a real player.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
Ari, if you're
astoundingly ridiculous.
Ari is my Scrabble rival in the GTA. Absolutely, Ari, you are my Scrabble rival.
Yeah, just backpedal.
I appreciate that you don't play multi-days because then you would dethrone all of my wins.
All right, we're going to go to Benjie for his help breaking down this next comment. Benjie, Czar says his only rival is Nigel Richards. What do you think is going on here?
Oh man, putting me on the spot here. So I think Cesar. I think Cesar is being a little bit facetious here.
Yeah?
He tends to do that once in a while. But I also think there's a little bit of seriousness there. He wants to beat the best, and I respect that.
Absolutely. I always love it when Czar, I know Josh Jr. is really known as probably the biggest Scrabble troll there, but everybody has there are a lot of people with troll-like qualities, but Czar really comes out with some good comments. I'm a big fan.
I think the other aspect to this is that a lot of people are interested in the game because of Nigel. Like Jesse Day says that his goal is to be the second best player in the world compared to Nigel. I remember Conrad on the way up to Niagara Falls one year said he was really only playing the tournament because it gave him a chance to get to play Nigel again.
Right.
And I get that. You want to play against the best player in the world. You get games with him that you will not get with anyone else, except maybe David Eldar and a few others. If you look at game 3 of, well, you guys looked at it last week or the week before. I guess it was probably last week, but Cesar says, but I already play Quack all the time. I don't think it's quite the same.
Okay, I want to go to the next comment here. I'm going to ask Czar to help us out. Czar, Benjie says his biggest rival is the city of Albany. Any idea what that means?
Yeah, every time he goes to Albany, he goes below 1900 apparently. So I'm just hoping he can break the cycle this coming tournament in a couple of months. I told him to not go to Albany, but if he goes to Albany, then he gets the bad luck out of the way, and then he can do well in nationals.
Don't say don't go to Albany. How many times have you been to Albany?
Twice, actually, but in 2007, 2008. Gotcha. I'm not going back this year, but maybe it's in the future at some point.
Yeah. Well, you're close enough now that you can go all the time. And you were in Lake George too. I mean, that's almost like Albany. So
that's true. It's actually past Albany.
All right. Now let's go to our next piece of feedback. We've got Bill.
I'm sorry, Josh.
We're almost done. We're almost done. These people were nice enough to leave comments. I don't want to leave them on the table. Plus, I made the graphics. So we've got a nomination here for Nigel versus Pacorn, 46-45 in Westboro rated games. Jackson, what do you think?
I absolutely love this. I think this is the ideal rivalry. I think Pacorn needs to be seen as someone who's close to Nigel's level. Pacorn is an amazing player. I wish they could do a real series, a 20 best of 20 or something. I would totally pay to watch that. Yeah,
we would sponsor it. 100%.
Yeah, I will donate $50 to the cause. Nigel, if you're watching this, $50 in it for you if you do it, okay?
Yeah, it's interesting. They do make platforms where you can pay $1 or $2 or $5 or whatever it is to watch a live stream. So, who knows?
That would be cool.
Maybe we play around with that. Okay, so Josh, I want to hear from you on this next piece. It's from Betsy Chai. She says the most prolific battle is based out of Calgary, Siri versus Wayne, 288 rated tournament games, which is crazy. I don't know who's the Wayne. Yeah. Who's Wayne that she's talking about?
Wayne Clifford.
Oh, Wayne Clifford. Okay.
They have played the most games I think anybody has ever played in tournaments, and they just keep going at it. They keep beating each other down, and it's absolutely incredible. This I bow down to this rivalry. No one will ever achieve such a feat.
Okay. Well, that, my friends, is going to do it for the rivalry section. I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. Jackson, good work as always, even though you didn't help prep the show.
Also, Cesar and Benjie, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. I'm waiting.
All right.
Come at me.
So one other thing, I know you guys are going to do birthdays. I want to wish my parents a happy birthday.
Oh,
their birthdays are tomorrow.
The truth comes out.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. They both have the same birthday. That's the weirdest. That's awesome.
No.
Yeah, they have the same birthday. That's what Benjie
I just said both of their birthdays are tomorrow. Did I stutter?
Oh my God! No, I was just getting ready to read off the birthdays, and I wasn't paying attention. That's I've never heard of that before. Are they? They're not brother and sister, right?
No, they are not brother and sister. They are not twins. Shut up. Go home.
All right, listen. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
You're welcome.
We're going to be back. Jackson, you're going to be in the studio next time, right?
Oh, yeah. We're going to move the studio to Montreal. That's the plan.
So next Tuesday
you can't
at 8 p.m., I want to thank everybody for watching, but especially as we normally cover all of our birthday babies, I want to wish happy birthday to Peggy Altazan, Andrew Bonsack, Jim Berlant, Leah Crewley, Ruvina Ross, Betsy Collins, Avalon Newell, Jeff Clark, Brendan McClanahan, Trevor Seeley, who's running Oshawa this week, and my good buddy, Jonathan Watton. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll be back next week. Support your local directors. Jackson, they can hear you. Why don't you say goodbye?
Yeah, thanks so much for watching and for sticking with this this broken up version of NASPA Tonight. We appreciate you tuning in. We will see you back together in our loveliness next Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Very good. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.